Nobody expected this. Nobody expected the girl who fought her way out of pain, out of chaos, out of a childhood built on survival, to make a video where her voice cracked, her hands shook, her breathing trembled, and she whispered the words. The internet never thought she would say, "I can't do this anymore. I think I have to let him go." The world froze, not the fans, not the haters, not the blogs, not even the gossip pages. Every timeline, every comment section, every group chat stopped moving for a full minute as the clip spread like wildfire. People replayed it over and over again, trying to understand if it was edited, if it was a joke, if it was another emotional meltdown, or if Chrisean Rock, the woman who swore she would die before letting anyone take. JR had finally reached a breaking point so deep, so raw, so heavy that even she didn't know how to climb out of it. But the video wasn't loud. It wasn't chaotic. It wasn't one of those screaming from the car moments. The internet turned into memes. It was quiet, too quiet. The type of quiet that only happens when someone has cried so long, so hard, so painfully that they've run out of tears and all that's left are the words they never wanted to say. Her eyelashes were still wet. Her lips were trembling. Her hoodie was stained. Her voice was small, not angry, not defensive, not confrontational, just tired. I just want him to have a normal life, a safe life, a life without all this madness. If I'm the one bringing the chaos, then maybe he deserves better. The comments exploded instantly. She's giving up her baby. No way, this is real. What happened to her promise? This is the saddest thing I've ever seen. She's in pain. Someone help her, please. Junior deserves stability. Foster care? Is she serious? Where is Blueface in all of this? But the internet didn't know what led up to that moment. They didn't see the sleepless nights. They didn't hear the quiet breakdowns. They didn't feel the pressure crushing her from every direction. Music, fame, relationships, court dates, financial stress, online bullying, family conflict, postpartum hormones, judgment, betrayal, manipulation, abandonment. They didn't see her scrolling through messages telling her she was a terrible mother. They didn't see her reading comments saying Junior should be taken from her. They didn't see the trolls tagging CPs under every photo of her son. They didn't see the people stitching her videos and saying she was unfit, unstable, unsafe. And they definitely didn't see what happened the night before the video, the night she broke, the night she sat alone in her living room while Junior slept in the next room, clutching his blanket with tiny hands. And she stared at him from the doorway, wondering if she was strong enough, stable enough, healed enough, healthy enough to give him the life he deserved. Because motherhood didn't just come with love and joy for her. It came with memories she never healed from, childhood trauma she never escaped, fears she never admitted, and expectations she was never prepared for. And the pressure didn't come from one direction, it came from every direction. Blueface going in and out of jail. Blueface going online to embarrass her. Carlisa attacking her motherhood. His sister picking fights. Fans calling her crazy. Blogs using her as content. People treating her pain like a show. She wasn't a human being to them. She was entertainment, but inside her chest. Inside her mind. Inside her heart. She was drowning, and she finally said it out loud. You ever love someone so much it scares you? Like you want to be everything they need, but you're scared you're not enough. Her voice cracked on the last word. Enough, that's what it came down to. Enough love. Enough healing. Enough stability. Enough support. Enough strength. Enough sanity. Enough of everything she never got growing up. People didn't understand that when she looked at Junior. She didn't just see her son. She saw a second chance at a childhood she never got to experience, but the world wouldn't let her breathe. It's long enough to build it. Every mistake she made was amplified. Every emotional moment was recorded. Every slip-up was posted. Every vulnerability was mocked on. And the worst part? Every fight she had with Blueface somehow became her fault. Every meltdown. Every argument. Every confrontation. Every trauma reaction. Her fault. even when she was the one being provoked, even when she was the one trying to protect her baby, even when she was the one picking up the pieces after chaos she didn't start, and after months of fighting everyone, the internet, Blueface's family, CPS threats, social media pressure, something inside her snapped, not in anger, in exhaustion. She sat there, camera shaking in her hand, trying to find the strength to say words she didn't believe but felt trapped by. I don't want him to grow up like I did. I don't want him to see me hurting myself, hurting people, fighting, crying, running from my past. I don't want him to think all this is normal. She wiped her face roughly. I don't know if I'm the safest option anymore. Her voice whispered the last part. I don't want to mess him up. And that was the moment millions of people watching realized. She wasn't giving up on Junior. She was giving up on herself. She wasn't saying she didn't love him. She was saying she loved him too much. Her pain wasn't cold. It wasn't selfish. It wasn't detached. It was the pain of someone who had been carrying more weight than any one person should ever have to. Someone who grew up fighting for survival. Someone who learned love through violence. Someone who learned trust through betrayal. Someone who learned motherhood with no blueprint, no support system, no model of what a healthy family should look like. She didn't want Junior in foster care because she didn't want him. She was terrified he'd end up hating her someday. Terrified he'd grow up and say she wasn't enough. Terrified he'd repeat her pain. And that fear is what pushed her to say those words. The whole world watched her sit there, breathing slowly, blinking through tears, before she whispered, "If I'm hurting him more than helping him, maybe the strongest thing I can do is let go." Thousands of people gasped at the same time. Mothers cried. Fans begged her not to do it. Haters twisted her words. Blogs prepared their headlines. CPS watchers sharpened their claws. Blueface stayed silent. And in that silence, Chrisean broke. This wasn't a meltdown. It was a confession. A confession from a woman whose childhood trauma had collided brutally with motherhood. And she didn't know how to carry both anymore. But as she lowered the phone, as her breathing steadied, as her tears dried on her cheeks, something shifted in her eyes, a flicker, a spark. Darkness, a realization so sharp it cut through. Her pain like a blade. Because someone had pushed her to this breaking point. Someone had fed the rumors, fed the pressure, fed the narrative, fed the hate, fed the chaos. Someone wanted her to feel unworthy. Someone wanted her to think she wasn't enough. Someone wanted her to question herself as a mother. And in that moment, she realized this wasn't an accident. Someone wanted her to consider giving up GR, someone close, someone watching, someone with a motive. Her eyes snapped upward. Her tone changed. "This ain't even about me no more," she whispered. "This about who'd been trying to break me enough to take him." And that, Johnny, is where the real story begins. Long before Chrisean ever sat in front of her phone whispering that she might give up Junior. Long before her voice cracked and the world stopped breathing with her. Long before that single heartbreaking clip spread across the internet like smoke from a burning building. There was a story the internet never bothered to look at. A story people ignored because it didn't fit the drama they wanted to watch. A story that explains why a woman who fought so hard to keep her baby suddenly felt like she wasn't enough. Because the truth is simple, brutal, and sad. Chrisean Rock didn't break in a day. She didn't crack because of one fight. She didn't consider foster care because she didn't love her child. She considered it because the world, life, and every trauma she never healed from had been crushing her for years. To understand this moment, to understand why she looked into the camera with a soul that seemed shattered, you have to go way back. Before fame, before Junior, before the chaos, before the headlines, you have to go back to the girl she used to be. The girl who grew up learning violence before she learned love. The girl who learned to protect herself before anyone ever protected her. The girl who learned that survival was earned, not given. The girl who didn't grow up in a home. She grew up in a battlefield. The world forgets this part. Conveniently, easily. They see the woman who screams, fights, breaks things, and melts down on live, but they don't see the child who spent nights hiding from pain nobody her age should have ever witnessed. They don't see the little girl who had to raise herself emotionally because the adults around her were drowning in their own demons. They don't see the kid who learned early that life wasn't safe, stable, or forgiving. Trauma became her first language. Fear became her first teacher. Pain became her first mentor. So when the internet asks, how could she even think of giving up her baby? How could she say something like that? What kind of mother does this? They don't understand that Chrisean wasn't reacting as a mother. She was reacting as a child who never got to heal, never got to rest, never got to breathe. A child, and the moment Junior was born, the pressure multiplied because the world didn't see a mother holding her newborn child. They saw drama. They saw entertainment. They saw content. Every photo, every video, every screenshot, every tear, all of it became ammunition from the second she announced her pregnancy. The world turned it into a war zone. People didn't just comment, they attacked. They dissected her. They insulted her. They mocked her. They judged her. They questioned her. They called her unfit before Junior even took his first breath. And Blueface. He didn't help. He added gasoline one day, calling her crazy. The next day, calling her fine. The next day, calling her unstable. The next day, calling her the best mother he knows. The next day, saying Junior wasn't even his. Chrisean wasn't raising a baby. She was trying to survive a circus, and all the while, a quiet fear grew inside her. Not fear of CPS, not fear of Blueface, not fear of haters. Fear of failing Junior. Fear of becoming what she escaped. Fear of repeating the cycle. Fear of hurting him with the same trauma that shaped her. She used to stare at him while he slept, tiny chest rising and falling softly. She would tell herself, I'm gonna be better. I swear I'm gonna be better. But every time she tried to be better, chaos found a way to drag her back. The fights, the breakups, the court dates, the screaming matches, the betrayal, the exhaustion, the postpartum depression that nobody acknowledged, the loneliness of raising a child with zero stability, the constant pressure to perform online, the constant criticism of her parenting, and then, the worst part, people telling her she deserved to lose him every time she made a mistake. Commenters spammed, take that baby from her. She's not stable. She doesn't deserve him. She's gonna ruin him. She's not fit to be a mom. Imagine hearing that every day. Imagine scrolling through thousands of messages attacking your motherhood. Imagine your own partner's mother saying your child should be taken from you. Imagine strangers wishing CPS on your family like it's nothing. Every day, her confidence chipped away. Her guilt grew heavier. Her fear grew louder, and the people who should have supported her turned her into the villain. So when she sat there holding her phone, voice trembling, saying she didn't know if she was enough, she wasn't just speaking from the hurt of one bad night. She was speaking from years of emotional injuries, stacked on top of each other, until they became unbearable. She was speaking from a lifetime of people telling her she wasn't good enough. She was speaking from the fear that Junior would someday look at her and say, you ruined me like they ruined you. But what people missed, what they didn't catch in her trembling voice, was the one sentence that revealed everything. If I'm the chaos, then maybe he deserves someone stronger. This wasn't a mother giving up her child. This was a woman collapsing under the weight of being strong for too long. It was the sound of someone who had been fighting everyone, the world, Blueface, his family, her own demons, all while trying to keep a cot. Baby safe. She wasn't weak, she was drowning, and nobody threw her a lifeline. Everyone threw stones. But the real tragedy? This moment didn't come out of nowhere. It was built slowly, painfully, brick by brick. The moment Blueface mocked her as a mom on social media. The moment Carlissa humiliated her publicly. The moment Seep's rumors spread. The moment haters tagged the authorities under her posts. The moment her breakdowns turned into viral clips. The moment people started treating her like a danger instead of a damaged human. Being trying to heal, and in the middle of all that noise, JR became her anchor, her hope, her reason, her light. But he also became her fear, because loving him meant she had something to lose. And the people around her knew that, used that, played with that. When Blueface wanted to hurt her, he used JR. When Carlisa wanted to shame her, she used Junior. When his sister wanted to stir chaos, she used Junior. When trolls wanted views, they used Junior. When blogs needed clicks, they used Junior and Chrisean. She watched the world turn her baby into a battlefield, so the night she said she might give him up, that wasn't weakness, that was despair. The despair of a mother who felt the world would never let her win. The despair of someone convinced she was destined to fail. The despair of someone who loved her son so much she was willing to sacrifice everything if it meant protecting him, even if it meant breaking her own heart. And that's the real tragedy. She didn't want to lose him, she wanted to save him. But the deeper tragedy, someone in her life wanted her to reach this breaking point. Someone had been planting seeds. Someone had been feeding doubts. Someone had been pushing her closer to the edge. Someone wanted foster care to happen. Someone wanted Junior out of her hands. Someone wanted to prove she was unfit. Someone wanted her to collapse publicly. And the hook, the biggest twist, it wasn't Blueface. It wasn't Carlisa. It wasn't his sister. It was someone she trusted. Someone who smiled in her face. Someone she thought was helping. Someone she confided in. Someone who had access to her home, her stress, her insecurities. Someone who was studying her pain and waiting for the moment she would finally break. And the day she made that video wasn't a coincidence. It was the day that person made their move. The breaking point didn't arrive with noise. It didn't arrive with shouting, chaos, or a camera thrown across the room. It arrived quietly, the way the most dangerous storms do. After that late-night video went viral, after Twitter turned into a battleground, after TikTok replays hit tens of millions of views, after commenters began writing essays diagnosing her mental state, Chrisean disappeared, not physically, emotionally. She vanished inside herself, the place she goes when the world becomes too loud, too cruel, too manipulative, too suffocating. The place she hides when her heart fractures in ways she can't explain. And this time that place wasn't a safe haven. It was a cage. She sat on the edge of her bed with Junior asleep next to her, his tiny chest rising and falling, completely unaware that the entire internet had turned his future into a punchline. And as she stared at him, something inside her shifted. Not a soft shift, not a slow shift, a violent shift. A dark realization that crept up her spine and wrapped itself around her throat. Someone wanted this. Someone wanted her to break publicly. Someone wanted her to question her motherhood. Someone wanted her to look unstable. Someone wanted to push her into saying those words, "I might have to let him go," on camera with millions watching at her lowest moment. And that meant whoever this person was, they didn't just want drama, they wanted leverage. Her friend walked into the room slowly, softly, like she could sense the emotional landmine under every breath Chrisean took. "You okay?" she asked hesitantly. Chrisean didn't blink. "You ever feel like someone's pushing you?" Chrisean whispered, like they want you to break. Her friend sat beside her. "Rock, who are you talking about?" But Chrisean's gaze was fixed on Junior. "That video wasn't random," she said with a shaky exhale. "I didn't just wake up and decide to say that. Someone got in my head." Her friend frowned. Silence. But not empty silence. A thinking silence. A silence thick with memories. And that's when it happened. A single moment, a flash, one memory that didn't feel right 2 nights before the video. Someone whispered to her, "Maybe Junior would be better with a stable family. Just until you get yourself together." At the time, she brushed it off, thinking it was said out of concern. But the way they said it,